Never date a girl with a weave. Why? Because a girl with a weave's got a trick up her sleeve. My wallet's so fat, had to put it on a dime.
Welcome to the Cinemarijuana Theatre, presented by Filmstain.com. The Cinemarijuana Theatre, yes, sir. We are the shitlords of cinematic scrutiny, and we're here to discuss films. And that's what we're doing. So this is our latest special series called Executive Selections, where we, as it's 2016, it's an election year here in the United States of America. We are looking at presidential type films.
Yep, any film that basically features the president as a major or a figurative character in the movie. This is what we're looking at.
Right. So today we are here to talk about, from 2003, the Chris Rock comedy Head of State.
That's right. A little bit of a different spin on executive selection this time, yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, for the Cinemarijuana Theatre, I'm Ed.
I'm John.
All right, and just us today. Lean and mean.
Yeah, we're a streamlined show today, but this will get us through things a little bit quicker, since you've got to deal with two of us instead of the normal 12.
Yes, indeedy. So let's do a synopsis for this film, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay,
well, basically, it's a comedy. It's pretty silly. Chris Rock plays Mays Gilliam, who is a local politician in his neighborhood, a man very of the people, dealing with his local constituents. And there's like a freak accident where apparently the two most likely candidates for, and they never bring political parties into this. They never say, nobody says Republican, Democrat. They're just two parties.
Yeah, they don't specify.
Right. So, but the two most likely candidates for one party's run at the presidency die both when their planes crash into each other. So they need a candidate. They're running against the vice president, who has been in office for 8 years.
The incumbent, I believe.
The incumbent Veep. So they know the odds are against them, and it's only something like 5-6 weeks to election time. So their idea is to bring in Chris Rock because he's a black man, hoping they will get such a positive spin from trying to bring in the first minority president that they will then ride that wave to the future and get their own person, their own guy, in as the candidate the next election year.
Yes.
4 years later. So their plan is to lose, but get enough positive support that they can win the next year. And so, but then what happens is, unbeknownst to them, Chris Rock actually knows what the hell he's doing, and he is very much of the people, and he gets a lot of support and ends up sort of prophetically winning the election and being the first black man to achieve the level of chief of staff.
Yes, indeed. All right, so let's get some seeds and stems on this.
All right, well, yeah, it released March 28th, 2003. Yeah, as you said, is actually directed by Chris Rock, written by Chris Rock and Ali Leroy, starring Chris Rock, Bernie Mac, Lynn Winfield, Dylan Baker, and others.
All right. So let's just do it. Yeah, 3 minutes, 3 words.
You want to start?
Sure, I'll start.
All right, go for it.
Okay, so I vaguely remember this movie coming out. Certainly, I didn't see it in theaters. As you might know, if you listen, based on a lot of the stuff we've watched and discussed, we don't necessarily. I don't watch necessarily. What's just anything that's at the theater. I'm kind of particular, so
yeah, we try not to watch a lot of crap, so we didn't catch this one first. Not that it's crap exactly.
But I'm a huge Chris Rock fan. At least I was as a kid. When I was a kid, I was a Saturday Night Live fan when he was added to the cast. I had a cassette of his first record, Born Suspect, that I fucking wore out. To this day, I still kind of quote jokes from that record. So I'm into anything he does, typically. But somehow, obviously not enough to see this. But now seeing it, it was, pretty good. Well, okay, it was shitty. It was a piece of shit. Like, let's be honest. It was, but it wasn't. It was an enjoyable piece of shit.
Well, on one hand, it starts off a lot worse than it ends. Like, if you cannot turn it off in the first 15, 20 minutes, then it ends up getting somewhere.
Okay, piece of shit, that's wrong. I mean, it's not, gonna fucking be, go alongside the Revenant, you know what I mean, or anything like that. But actually, it was weird how sort of prophetic it was. It was
that was really weird
because it was also very relevant to today as well. It was actually prophetic for a number of reasons, and it was really funny in places. And at no point did I really feel, even when it was like kind of being silly or like dumb, at no point did I feel like insulted enough or think low of it that it diminished my opinion of the film. I enjoyed it the whole time through. I like Bernie Mac a lot too. I think Bernie Mac
he was cool in this. He was really cool.
He's fucking rad in everything, man. And he was a really funny comic. And so just anything he's in, I just think Bernie Mac is the goddamn business. And so that was rad. And he plays a nicer kind of character than he usually plays. He's usually pretty tough.
Right, and he's tough in this too, but he's more lovable. He's got a warmer heart in this than he usually
does.
has. And
there's a lot of appearances by familiar faces, seeing Mario Joyner in it and Tracy Morgan. That was cool. It's just and it's almost like a Philosophy Junior too, kind of like it could, in theory, stimulate the right person into thinking a little more deeply about sort of our political process and the nature of popularity and all, and the presidential race and all that kind of shit. So my 3 words for this film are worth a watch.
That's a good one. I think that's accurate.
I think it's worth a watch, and I think the message is it's the same kind of. I don't know. It just seems like the whole civil rights thing is such a big deal today, and it's like he's been saying this shit. He was saying the same shit in this movie that they're fucking saying today.
Well, they do a good job.
I mean?
It's funny because nothing gets too specific. It gives the film almost this sort of generic quality that lends it to any age. So it doesn't feel dated at all, other than the fact that obviously there has been a black man as president now. Other than that, though, everything it's the same kind of stuff you hear these days. There's always these certain things that are going to be the forefront of the American consciousness every time election comes up.
Yeah. And it also sort of skewers the stuffiness of, stuff. So, I need to shut the fuck up and you need to go.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, you summed up when the movie started and it was from DreamWorks. I'm like, this is already a bad sign.
Fucking dream jerks.
I know, right? Like, they don't really do a lot of quality movies. I'm a huge. I was a huge fan of Chris Rock too from Saturday Night Live. That's why this movie was on my radar when it first came out. I was seeing the trailers for it, and it's like, it doesn't look good, but I like Chris Rock, so
yeah.
And he's one of those comedians that I liken him to George Carlin in the sense that not only is he really funny, he's also really wise.
Yeah, no, he's got a great mind,
right?
A really sharp mind.
It's like he's almost really more philosophizing when he's up there talking, and that's why it was sort of fitting for him to play this character. Like, when he has that first rally and he turns the teleprompter off and takes his jack off, and just starts talking real. And it's the same kind of shit that he'd be saying when he's doing stand-up, and it's very true.
That Bring the Pain special, that first HBO special he did, Bring the Pain.
Right.
I can't. That's if I was to make a list of like essential comedy specials to watch or comedy records to listen to,
it would definitely be one of them.
Bring the Pain. It was just like once he had a shot, it's like I almost got to believe he had this cache of material he was like saving.
Yeah, he had his secret stash of the really good stuff.
When he got that first HBO special, bam, dude, he fucking dropped it, and it's so great.
Yeah. So his talent comes through, and that's what does save this movie. Because there's a couple of groaning moments. There's some face palming when he goes to that first announcement dinner. And all the square old white people are dancing.
Oh, that moment from The Intouchables.
Right, and it just totally breaks out into this whole dance party. And it's like, oh my God, like that is just so cheeseball.
That was a little cringeworthy.
Yeah, it was, but that's honestly the worst part, and it really picks up after that. And it's funny because right after that night is when his character starts taking control of his own campaign. Yeah. And that's also when the movie picks up, almost like Chris Rock deliberately got that cheeseball shit out of the way.
Because it was like necessary.
Right, but and it's almost like, he got that cornball shit out of the way before the movie could really start spreading its wings and flying on its own. I do like that a movie like this that we've talked in the past about, like you see a movie and not to, something like Soul Plane, for example, or like these movies.
Which I actually watched a second time recently after hating it, and I liked it a little bit more, but it's still fucking terrible.
That's a bad movie. But these movies that tread so much on like black culture, and then it's written by like a white Jewish guy, and it's directed by like a white Jewish guy, and it's like, doesn't that kind of make this sort of just racist?
But if it resonates with the culture, like I'm not trying to legitimize it, but like we had this talk with Garrett.
Right.
He was here for a movie back in October, and I had recently watched Blackula. And it's like, sort of, and we talked about blaxploitation a little bit with the Sweetback podcast we did.
A little bit.
And it's like it's exploitative or exploitive,
Right.
however you pronounce it.
I think it's exploitative.
But at the same time, if it actually resonates with the culture and the culture adopts it, then it's kind of in some weird limbo.
Yeah, I guess I can see that. Well, and with this movie, that you don't have that problem because obviously, like Chris Rock wrote and directed it, so that helps too. And I think if it wasn't written and directed by Chris Rock, I mean, I don't think this movie would have any legs at all.
Well,
because it's not that inventive of a plot or believable, but he's funny enough that the jokes end up being funny. And I laughed out loud numerous times at the entire run of the movie.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's not realistic, and it's not like I said, they don't even paint it in a real enough world to even mention political parties and stuff. It's like it almost just exists in this sort of little bubble where you just kind of get the point they're going for without anything becoming too real. But it's a fun movie. It's funny. If you like Chris Rock, it's funny.
All right,
I liked
your 3 words?
3 words are seeing the future, because that's what it was.
Yeah,
seeing a black man like the president.
All right. Well, if you'd like to give us, if there's any dank nugs on this bitch, if you'd like to give those up.
There's not too much, unfortunately. These dank nugs are courtesy of imdb.com. But there's not too much going on for this one. One interesting thing is that Tina Fey was one of 5 uncredited writers who did a rewrite on the screenplay, because that's a little secret of Hollywood, is that movies will get punched up a lot.
Do we know who the others were?
No, it doesn't say who the others were, just that she was one of them. I can't find any info on the other ones.
Okay.
The scream that was used at Chris Rock's security, and there's a guy dragged out of the scream, was actually done by Adam Sandler.
Okay.
And Chris Rock got the idea from the story for the 1984 Walter Mondale Geraldine Ferraro ticket, in which the Democrats thought they had no chance of winning against Ronald Reagan, so they might as well make a historic first by putting a woman in as the first candidate for president. But then it also backfired on them. It didn't work.
Yes. No, it definitely did. Yeah, Mondale. Well, it wasn't because of Geraldine Ferraro, though. It was because Mondale said he was going to raise taxes.
That's always a bad idea. He's the only candidate ever to promise to raise taxes,
and it cost him the election. And it's funny too, because he said there was a speech where he said straight up, he's like, the difference between Ronald Reagan and me is that we're both going to raise your taxes, but I'm at least admitting it.
Yeah, and you think that
basically Ronald Reagan's lying, because Ronald Reagan was like, I'm not raising your taxes, and then Reagan wins by a landslide, and then taxes. He had a tax surplus because taxes went.
People never like hearing the truth, I think. Yeah. In any situation.
Yeah. Is that it for Dank Nugs?
That's it for Dank Nugs. Like I said, it's unfortunate this movie's charting a 5.4 on IMDb, so there's not a lot of depth to the fandom to get a lot of information out there.
No shit. Okay, well, let's talk about that Ghost Riders thing for a minute, shall we? Because that's kind of an interesting thing. So, especially in light of what you just brought up about it's sort of about all this black stuff that's part of black culture, or whatever. Then it's written by some old Jewish guy. I mean, Straight Outta Compton, for example. I think wasn't it? That was sort of one of the issues with Oscar So White, is the only Oscar nomination that Straight Outta Compton pulled, or one of the only black movies that was acknowledged was Straight Outta Compton, and the only ones that was the old Jewish guys that wrote it. White Jewish guys.
Yeah.
So if the film was punched up, because Tina Fey's not black.
Well,
you said Adam Sandler wrote for this too?
No. He just provided a voice, the scream.
The voice. Yeah. Okay. Well, so we don't know who the other Ghost Riders
No,
are?
like I said, there's no info on who the other ones were.
Well, because if they're not black...
Well, I mean, I guess because it's not like you have to be black to write a black movie. Because if that was the case, I mean, a guy couldn't write about women. You couldn't. If you were a white man, you could only have white men and women in your movie.
But I can see people arguing that you couldn't do it authentically unless.
Well, but like okay, because I think one of the reasons why these people go uncredited is that like they don't introduce too many original ideas. It's like a polished type of thing.
Yeah,
like it's like they take a joke. And like and you know, and not to toot, and I'm sure everybody does. It's like armchair quarterbacking.
Right.
I feel like I don't know that I could write a successful movie, but I swear sometimes when a movie comes out that flops, that had potential, and I'd be like, oh man, I swear if you had to give me that script and some whiteout and a pen,
you could have fixed it.
I could have fixed it, and I could have made it a little bit better. Because sometimes you see these choices they make that are questionable. I was like, why didn't they just do this? We just talked in our Star Wars podcast for the DVDs about how the Blu-ray release that why wasn't that one Stormtrooper Captain Phasma? It's one of those that makes no sense. It's a head scratcher, you know?
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and you see that a lot. And I think that's maybe why this is a sort of an underground thing in Hollywood, because these people don't introduce ideas. They just take the existing ideas and make it better. Because if they introduced ideas, they would have to be credited as a writer. Yeah. So I don't necessarily think that like Tina Fey would be like, you know, wanting to black up the script or write a scene,
black it up.
You know, she would just take what he had already written and the concept that he was going with and just put a spin on it.
Yeah.
And I don't mean in the sense, like I said, that only people should write for their own race or something, but just that when you've got movies that seem to delve so deep into the culture.
Well, that's what I was going to say, too. Like, I mean, what is a black movie? Well, is this a black movie because it stars Chris Rock and it's sort of... And it posits the message that black people are okay. Well, you know what I mean?
Well, I think one of the problems, and that's
dares to say that
with the Oscars so white scenario, is that a lot of white people will view any movie starring a black person or black people as a black movie, and that it is there by design, not for them.
Yeah,
and then they will be less likely to see it. Like, I mean, you got to figure one of the reasons why black movies didn't get nominated for the Oscars is because the Academy, which is something like 93% white, wasn't seeing them.
Yeah.
Because they think, oh, well, that's not for me. That's not going to speak to me on any level.
Yeah.
So even though it shouldn't be that way at all, people seem to deem it like that. Yeah. But I don't think there should be no such thing as a black movie or a white movie or any of that. Even just like music, everything, art and culture should be absorbed by everybody and experienced and enjoyed by everybody.
That's kind of it. I mean, that's for me one of the greatest things about art. And when I'm talking about art, I mean that's culture. That's, you know, everything from, you know, paintings to cuisine to music to clothes. Like it's all art, and like that's what makes the world so rad and interesting, is there's so much variation and so much different stuff, and there's something to appreciate about there's so much to appreciate about it, like every other culture.
And it's like, why limit yourself?
Well, yeah, that's
like when you know somebody, and we've known people, like they'll go to Europe and they need to find the McDonald's in every city they go to.
That's
eat
all
dinner
they'll eat
because they won't try any weird foreign cuisine.
And then they'll complain that they don't make it like they do at home.
Right. And it's like you don't, you know, that's how you not wanting to experience all the different parts of the culture. But that's very.
I mean, I guess it's not for everybody, but
xenophobia is a very human thing.
Yeah.
It's very natural for people to and that really sucks to see people looking at other cultures as being negative or something to be feared or avoided when it should be something to be experienced.
I feel like, I mean, if that would go away,
we just got to break down the walls, people.
That's it.
Just break down these walls.
Yeah, break them.
Like Chris Jericho. Break down the walls.
Breaking them down. Yeah. What else? I mean, fuck. What else can we say about this movie?
I guess I got to throw out the awesome TNA cameo, which came right out of left field.
Dog.
Yeah, Road Dogg, Jesse James,
Jeff
Jarrett, Double J, Ron the Truth Killings, and some bald dude with a beard who I didn't recognize, who looked like a poor man, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
But we weren't really big TNA fans.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, we stepped in and out because it is kind of the latter day WCW. But yeah, that was fun as a wrestling fan to see, and it was cool as a little cameo. And it was funny too because they just beat his ass. Yeah. It's just this one short little thing where they just bring him in and just beat his ass.
It was like Jeff Jarrett was in Spring Breakers.
Oh yeah, that's right. You said
which
he was
also really cool. Like, even though I'm not a Jeff Jarrett mark, like I don't like him. I never did. Looking back on it, like some of the bits are actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
Like the whole apron thing with China. That was
They had a good housekeeping match. Him and China had a match where like it was all housekeeping implements in the ring that they had a hardcore match with.
Oh, that's hilarious. But I was not a fan of his. But once you sort of been a fan, and then when they turn up,
it's because to me it's
neat to see him.
It's almost like when you're someplace and you meet a friend you don't expect to see there, and it's like like this familiar face.
Yeah,
hey,
totally.
it's you, what's happening?
Or like I had it with musicians too. Occasionally musicians, like a Stian Karstensen is a guy who plays accordion for a band called Farmers Market from Norway. We saw years ago, and he's in that movie Mirror Mask.
Oh wow,
him and Rob Brydon actually.
Oh, that's
who we're
neat.
also fans of. And I was like, holy shit,
that's cool.
That was cool.
Unexpected cameos are always fun. I guess we could talk briefly about. It's just interesting because this movie sort of prophesized, a black man became president like Barack Obama did at this movie set for the 2004 election.
Right.
Barack Obama won in 2008. And it's funny that this movie follows the concept that Chris Rock spoke about. Even I remember he talked about it on Saturday Night Live on Weekend Update one time. The idea of like a black man wouldn't be president,
right? Because
he'd get assassinated right away.
Yeah,
especially if he had a white vice president, he'd be guaranteed to get shot by some racist guy if he had a white vice president. And no white man would have a black man as his vice president because a black man would then shoot him to make a black man become president. and it's funny. This movie is there's a point when the election's getting close to the end. And
it's so easy to just do that.
Yeah, I know. Like it's just we're just gonna gun him down, get the new guy in, and like they talk about because obviously California here were the last. Well, other than Hawaii, the polls closed last here, so they're worried Chris Rock's gonna get in there, and so they announced that a black man could win. And there's this it's a pretty cool scene with this high crane shot on this suburban neighborhood, and you just see 50 million crackers coming out and just running through the streets to get to their polls, which I thought was sort of ironic because I'm pretty sure California was one of the biggest Barack Obama supporting states 4 years later.
Well, yeah, we're always Democrats.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I mean, and I don't know if it's necessarily an anti-California thing, but it was just funny that like I'm like, well, hey, Californians actually voted for Obama for a black man in record numbers. Yeah. But it's it's interesting, I guess, and it's not really a question, but to see how much maybe attitudes change within just a few years. Where when they made that movie, it seems ridiculous, and then a few years later, it actually happened.
Yeah, it was kind of neat, and also too, it sort of mirrors the kind of campaign, the Bernie Sanders campaign, now too, just sort of the way he kind of is this sort of more, not a grassroots candidate, but certainly the grassroots following, and he sort of comes up on a platform of like sort of social, God damn it.
Well, he's very much of the people, and it's very much his concern of social issues and welfare issues that are at the forefront of his campaign, and the kind of thing where Chris Rock, being this candidate who tells it like it is,
proactivity,
and he's not bullshitting,
social proactivity,
and that is very much what it's like Bernie Sanders' kind of spin is.
Yeah, that's it. Because he's sort of the whole bird, the hippies,
it's
dabs for Bernie,
right? It's the same kind of crowd. I mean, there's the idea that there are, and obviously we're in this group, people who are tired of the political system we have, and they're tired of the runaround, they're tired of the government not caring about you. And when we pay their salaries, we hire them by electing them. They work for us, but as soon as they're in there, they don't give two drops of piss about us, and they're all about themselves. And we're pushed around, and we're bullied, and we're robbed, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, and it keeps getting worse. And they keep making movies like reminding us, hey...
Yeah. You got something like The Big Short that comes out that basically spells it all out. Like, hey, America, guess what? You just got fucked by the man.
But what can you do?
Yeah, well, because you walk out of the theater, what can you do? You're going to go burn a bank down?
What do you do? Go march on Washington?
Right. I mean, they tried doing that, and it didn't get them very far.
Well, even just based on what I've seen on the news, like even like with both Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders, like both establishments, from what I understand, are not into these motherfuckers.
No, it's true.
And they're like doing anything they can
to not get them in.
I saw in the news there was this clip going around Facebook, like Hillary Clinton got more delegates even though she lost the election in Wisconsin by a substantial margin, and it just blows your mind.
And it does pillow the movie here, where you've got this senator that like in theory he's trying to get Chris Rock elected for his party, but he doesn't want Chris Rock to win. He wants him to be really popular, but not enough to win. It's funny, like you would think, okay, if Trump is burning up the polls, and you think the Republicans would be stoked and be like, all right, hey, go Trump, but they're not.
Because
they're like,
he's
no,
doing
we
it on
don't
his
want
own.
this Trump guy in office. Like, well, we got to stop this Trump thing.
Yeah,
and it's the same thing when they try to sabotage and bring down Chris Rock's campaign. Because they don't whoa, we didn't want you to actually win.
Yeah.
We just want you to be popular. And the same thing with the Democrats and Bernie Sanders. Like, well, yeah, we want Hillary Clinton to get in there. We want a Democrat to win the presidency, but we want the one that we want. Not the one the people want.
The one that we know is right for you.
Right, the one that we're choosing.
Right,
We don't want the people to choose. Who wants that?
I guess then maybe that makes this movie like sort of a real fairy tale and almost kind of a depressing reminder that that our system is so fucked and so rigged against us that this fantasy that somebody who is honest and real could ascend to the highest office in the land and then effect real positive change, it's an absolute fucking fairy tale.
Yeah. Anytime you've got a story which basically shows somebody beating City Hall, it's a fantasy. It's a fairy tale because you don't
beat City Hall.
Right. They have laws.
That's why they made City fucking Hall.
They write laws to screw you, and then they write laws to make sure that you can't prevent them from screwing you.
Yeah.
It's like they double and triple screw you. You can't cut through the red tape. You can't win. And even if look at what happened with Barack Obama, for example. It was yes, we can before he got in there. And don't get me wrong, I don't think he was a bad president at all. He didn't do any damage to this country. But it's so hard to get anything done because, if Chris Rock had gotten into office, the Senate would have made a pain in the ass for him to get anything passed. They always do. And even if you've got good intentions.
We already saw the sequel.
Yeah.
And the follow-up sequel when he gets elected to his second term. We saw it. We saw the shit happen.
And it's unfortunately so. Any time the people win over the government, it is a fantasy.
So yeah, this is a total fairy tale.
It is. It should have been some talking unicorns.
But it's a fun one. It's a fun one and something that's fun to it's fun to live in that world where that's possible and you can look forward to tomorrow being a better day. But really, tomorrow's going to be a fucking worse.
This
Every
is the kind of movie
going to be worse than the previous tomorrow.
Yeah, that's true. It's
in real life.
So the decay theory. This is the kind of movie that I feel like would be perfect if you had HBO or something. You'd
end up watching it
and
a million times.
You come home on an afternoon. It's starting, and it's like, oh hey, Chris Rock, and you leave it on. You're watching the whole thing. It's not
be like the Who's Harry Crumb or the Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah, it's not the kind of thing that you necessarily would have wanted to attend opening night. Front row center, but it's a fun movie. It's a fun comedy. It's good to watch. And like I said, I think Chris Rock is talented. A lot of people don't like him. A lot of people talk shit on him. I think he's very funny and talented, and I think his humor really comes through.
Honestly, I think if you don't like him,
you're racist.
Well, yeah,
you're a racist.
Yeah, right. Opinions are like assholes. You know what I mean? And they're just that. If he rubs you the wrong way, whatever. But I gotta wonder how many people don't like him because they don't like what he makes them consider.
Right. He's too real, what he says.
Like that flick District 9, because immigration is a big deal in this country, and particularly, we live relatively close to Mexico, so, it's a big deal here, and what the fuck was I talking about?
District 9.
Yeah, and so when District 9 came out when I was at my Blockbuster, motherfuckers, it was funny. I could almost guess by looking at people, and that's horrible to say, but I could almost guess by looking at people what they thought of the film.
Like who would like it and who wouldn't like it.
And I guarantee you the people that didn't like it, for the most part, are people that would vote Trump for Cruz.
Yeah, it's the right-wingers. It's funny. Well, and political things, people lie across a whole rainbow, a whole spectrum of different motivations and beliefs. But people. Yeah,
I'm not trying to alienate anybody.
Right, but
if that's how you vote, that's how you vote.
Right,
but
obviously it's a free country. That's the point. But there is the right wing, there is the left wing, and people do fit into certain categories.
Yeah.
And not on the whole, but on the majority, and that's why politics are the way they are.
And District 9 being sort of a metaphor for immigration.
Yeah, and everybody's got an opinion about that. That's such a big thing in this country, like you said, especially in Southern California, that there's no way you don't have an opinion one way or the other about an issue like that. You just can't not care about something like that.
Yeah. All right, well, that's going to do it for this
And we also did Manchurian Candidate.
Oh, that's right. We
our
did
kickoff.
Manchurian Candidate as well.
That was actually the one that kind of spawned the whole thing.
Yeah, that's right. It's interesting how sort of each one of them, no matter how far-fetched or whatever, actually does have some relevance. Actually is able to make you consider some issue that's a big deal today or important today.
And none of that. They're all older movies. I mean, not this one. Not this one's not too old, but they're all still topical on some level because the things never change too much. You know, the political spectrum is never too different.
Yeah, they really don't. It's pretty scary.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah. All right. Well, for filmstain.com, I'm Ed.
I'm John.
This has been the Cinemarijuana Theatre Executive Selections at the
That's
Cinemarijuana
right. We'll be here all 2016 this election year, checking out more presidential flicks
here and there. So yeah,
come
get
back.
your presidential fix.
Yes,
right here.
Ignore the morass of the political world by just enjoying some good movies.
And you can follow us filmstain.com. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
Check us out.
All that shit. So yeah, get about it. We're back with more movies.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah.